welcome to our August edition of Meet a Mega. We're here with Kellyanne Harris. So Kellyanne, do you want to tell us a little bit about your team, where you started, and then also, if you wouldn't mind, to just give us your year-to-date stats real quick.
Yeah, so I'm Kellyanne Harris, and I'm from Owensboro, Kentucky. I have been in the business for 11 years, and I've been with KW, let's see, 2016. So what does that make it? 5 years? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 5 years. So I'm an operating partner of 3 market centers, 2 in Kentucky and 1 in Columbus, Ohio. And I have an expansion team. Just recently, we are the #1 team in Owensboro. We'll do about 350 homes in Owensboro, Kentucky. This year, we've been #1 for ever since I was #1 individual agent. So it's 8, we're going on 8 years. Got about 12% of the market. Though my expansion team that launched in 2020, we're in a few market centers, and we are, I just looked because I knew you were going to ask me. So we're at 2.1 million of gross commissions income. And we have closed 387 homes.
And that's just so far this year. Mm-hmm. So you still have about 5 months to go.
Yeah, I think we should hit, our goal is say 550 to 600 this year. And we've already done about 85 million of production. So
awesome.
I know, super proud of them.
So, I lost my first card already. I'm messing up. Okay, well, we covered that. So, so how long were you an independent agent?
6 years. I was with Remax for 6 years, and Michael was telling me, he's like, I think you had 40% market share. I was like, no, I've never had 40% market share. I wish. I was like, but the story is I did 142 transactions by myself. My last big year as an independent agent, and was #1 agent within Remax within the state. But I was not a present mom, and I was killing myself. It was not fun. When you're looking at your phone 24/7, and you might be going, but then you're like really not present. And I had like just some big wake up calls of I gotta slow down and not do this much business, or I gotta figure out this team thing. And so I was fumbling through it at my previous franchise. But I didn't get it. Like I was, we didn't have a KW. And so then I was approached by KW. 5 years later, all the growth has happened through leverage and learning how to be a business owner.
So how did you stumble into real estate?
So before real estate when I was in college, I was a Miller Lite girl. And people follow me around. I give away free beer all the time. Everybody likes free beer, the girl that gives away free beer. And so then they asked me to be the on-premise manager for the western part of the state. So for the first 5 years of my life as an adult and adulting, I did beer sales and ran the Miller Lite girls for like 6 different cities. So I had like 30 girls, and then sold in whatever product, from Red Bull to Corona to whatever it was. Just did a lot of like event coordinating. Well, then the beer industry in 2009 went to poo, and I was the first person to get cut.
Oh,
so they laid me off, and I had a 6-month-old child. And my best friend, who's now my business partner, because we do flips and we have a property management company and we do construction, he was flipping houses, and I thought, well, I can talk to anybody, whether they got all their teeth or none of their teeth, because I've been a beer girl for 5 years of my life. I think I might go sell houses because it's a lot more money. So that's how it happened. Was he was flipping, and I thought, I got my first customer. So I started being a realtor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so was Remax the first office you affiliated with?
Total banker for about 45 days, and moved ship really fast on really me and the broker. I didn't think was who I wanted to hang my license with.
So you have always been with a franchise company?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you just said that you sold 142 homes your last year as an independent agent, right? Yeah. So when did you know it was time to make your first hire?
When I couldn't get my kid to school on time, and whenever I was just losing my marbles. Like my first assistant was like a personal assistant. Like he'd take my dogs to the groomers or to the vet, or just like, I mean, like I remember back to like, oh my gosh, Kelly, this has gone too far because your dog just pissed in my car. So like, it was just like things like that. And so he didn't really like organize me. He just really just like, my hair was on fire.
Sure. So was your first hire, but after the personal assistant?
After the personal assistant was ops. And then that's when I started to learn that I could actually have someone in my life to like take this off of me. He was just doing like the odd and end stuff of my life.
Sort of things as they came up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So did you work as a single agent with an admin for a while, or did you just start growing from there?
No, I was like 80% listings and 20% buyers. And what I learned was that's not a good, like I'm losing business and I could really impact someone else to make a good living. And I'm letting go of all these buyers because I don't want to work with them. So then that's when I started bringing in buyer's agents. And I hired like 3 buyer's agents really fast. Didn't really know it. I'm the type of person, like I'll go jump off a cliff and then we'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the parachute's attached, but you know, I'll grab a hold of something. So I then hired 3. But when I first built my team, I was real like, oh my gosh, I'm like drowning. So like I had to get rid of leads, but so they got real used to me like giving them leads. And so my value in the beginning of my team was like leads. Mm-hmm. And now my value is like, it's a 50-50, it's a win-win. Like they bring just as much business to the team that I bring to them. And we have other value stack items that really like, we're not just a give lead kind of team.
So how did adding leverage impact your growth?
Oh goodness. I mean, I cannot, between all the company, now I combine a bunch of stuff, but every time I added a person, my team would like improve by so many units. So like, you know, we hit the 200 mark. So then I was like, okay, well, we're going to now I do listings, you do buyers. Then we hit the 250 mark. Well, everybody can do listings, everybody can do buyers. So like every time it evolved, like we changed our model. So. And now we have showings assistants. So like, as we keep scaling the number of houses, like we keep adding a piece of the model to our business.
Okay. So my next question was going to be about models and systems. So, what does your team like model look like right now? And the showing assistant, I don't think we really have anyone here that's doing that at a high level. So let's talk a little bit about what that looks like.
So we're not doing it at a high level. We're just, all of our junior agents, we go through a 90-day program. They call it 90 days ahead, but it's not, it's just the hardest part of learning how to be a realtor because we teach you how to lead generate. And because I don't want to wake up one day and maybe the market turns, maybe there's not enough leads, and I haven't taught my agents how to lead generate. And so for the first 90 days, we teach them how to lead generate their sphere, because we believe in a culture of you're going to be a giver before you're a taker. And so we do not allow people to come onto our team unless they have learned lead generation on their own sphere. Then once they enter the team, then they can get some of the team leads, get some of the team perks. But we're going to teach them how to do their own business, because I'm trying to teach these people how longevity they can have a career and that they're not depending on my team so much. Don't know what was your question? I don't.
Just what sort of models and systems are you using? So do you mostly follow the millionaire real estate agent?
We're 7th level.
Okay.
Because then we're now in expansion. I, believe it or not, still do about 3 or 4 homes. I list about 3 or 4 homes a month. I do a lot of commercial. I love commercial now.
Okay.
So I do, usually a commercial deal a month, and then I do like 3 or 4 homes. But we're super leveraged. So like I may do 5% of the transaction, which that's usually going on the appointment and then showing up at closing maybe. But my admin staff like does everything, even negotiates repairs. Like we've gotten to that level. Not all of our agents get that perk until they reach a certain level, but we will, some of the admin, like depending on how many houses you sell, depends on how much admin support you get.
How big is your admin team?
So since we're an expansion team, our expansion, the people that work for the expansion hub, I have three leadership staff, and then I have 4 leadership staff, and then I have 2 transaction coordinators in the Owensboro location, and then 1 in each location if they're over 100 units. So
Okay. So how do you set goals for your team?
we use software called CTE, and then that was another learning curve I had. So like back in the day, I would set the goals for the team, be like, okay, you're going to do 40. I'm going to do 70. You're going to do 20. Well, I learned really fast that those weren't their goals because I had all these big ambitions, and I thought that everybody else wanted to have the same ambitions as me. Well, that's not everybody wants to run as hard. But there's a place for everyone in my team, no matter what their goal is. And so I find out what they want to make, how much they want to net. We work that equation. And then if I have a gap of what I want the team to do, or Kelsey wants the team to do, then we'll go recruit so that we can fill that gap of how many homes we want to sell.
Okay. So do you try to level up each year as far as like increasing units? Do you have a base that you want to try and see the growth each year?
We usually, all of our agents are always growing every year. They're doing more than they ever did. We really relied on them. And then we have a whole equation around like, how many people do we have in the pipeline that are coming into the team? How many are going to stick? And then what's our turnover? So it's usually based on some kind of mathematical equation.
Okay.
Instead of like, oh, we're going to shoot for 500 homes.
Okay.
Like, I've been doing this long enough is I know how many people I'm going to recruit in, and I know how many their average of how many deals they're going to do and who's going to stick. So I don't shoot this silly number and not have an equation behind how I'm going to get there.
So how often are you adding agents to your team?
All the time. We never, ever stop recruiting. Like, we probably have a pipeline. So in the expansion organization, we have someone that she's HR. So she does all of the KPAs. We have a Noli, he lives in the Philippines. He does all of our verifications of KPAs. And that was one thing that the Market Center taught me was, okay, so I constantly have agents coming into the Market Center. Why can't I do the same for my team? And so I think for a long time, megas don't model their businesses after the Market Centers, and we should, because there's a lot of things the Market Center does that the mega can do for their team. And so we're teaching our megas how to run a business. Just half the time we don't pay attention and we don't listen and don't watch what they're doing. So now, our Bowling Green team went from 3 agents to now he has 9 in a year. And he's up 147% on growth because we just have used our people and our systems and tools just like the Market Center has. Like, all I've done is taken a Market Center model and put it into an expansion team.
So do you KPA?
Yes.
All of your agent hires?
And if they aren't a good fit for us, then they go into the Market Center.
Okay. So do you hire based on their,
they better be a culture fit.
Okay.
We turn a lot of people down.
So what are your preferred lead generating methods, not just for business, but also for additional hires?
Okay, so for business, we are a lead generating team. So we report in Monday through Wednesday. We have a huddle that starts at 8:15, just like the Market Center does. So we do huddles where we say our numbers, where we're at to go. After that, they do script practice for about 15 minutes and they lead generate for 2 hours. That's Monday through Wednesday. Now, they have Fridays off. If they are not to go, then they're there Monday through Thursday. So, but we teach our agents that in the junior agent program. And and I will put my team up against anyone's because I have agents on my team that do over 100 units, like multiple agents. And multiple of my agents net more than a lot of the top agents in the MLS.
So do you mostly have them on the phone or?
Yeah. So we're big on phones or texting or whatever they choose. So, but they need to be in the office. They need to I mean, every team's different. Our team is just a lead generation team. So we dial together, we text together, we have goals together. That is our form of lead generation, and that's where we get most of our leads from.
And as far as like adding agents to your team, do you see them through like all the way from getting licensed, or do you try to get people that already have a little bit of experience under their belt?
So what we've learned is we need so many applicants. Applicants lead to appointments. Appointments lead to KPAs. KPAs lead to life stories. Life stories lead to, right? So we have everything systemized on that. And I know this is overwhelming, but you got to think, I got a lot of people, like a lot of high-minded people that are helping me build this. So it's not just me. It might be my vision, but they're the executors. So, but we usually get, I'm trying to think, we probably have a pipeline of over, between all of our cities. I mean, we probably have 100 people on that pipeline, but not all of them are going to pan out.
Sure.
Yeah. So your question was, yes, if they are interested in real estate, then they go on to a drip to keep dripping on them. And then we don't, one thing we don't do is we don't start the process till they're close to being licensed. So if we see that they're in their final stretch, then we start doing the KPA. But we get a lot of people like, yeah, I'm interested, but I don't want my cyberbacker or my HR girl focusing on people that just like raise their hand. I want to see that they've signed up for their tests.
Okay. So what do you think the majority of your business comes from, what lead generation method?
So like we have too many leads and not enough agents. And so I'd rather be that kind of team than the opposite. And so we have in our Owensboro, my goal, y'all remember that, you remember the guy that's from, he's in the middle of the US, but he has like, sells 500 homes in his hometown. I think his name's Mike, but he was on the family reunion stage. And he talked about how they have, I want to say like 70,000 people in their database, and their goal was to get their whole town. Well, in a small town, you can work towards that. So I think we're at 14,000 and we have 100,000 people. So my goal is I want to get all these numbers in my database. And so that way there's always stuff to churn. So we have just spent years of building that data bank. And then when we go into a new territory, it depends on how many people are in the Rainmakers database. And then do we need to start paying for some clicks to start building that? Because eventually we'll stop paying for leads, but we've got to build it, because I want agents to be able to come in and pick up the phones and start dialing numbers.
So I'm going to be transparent with you and say that we don't have a lot of experience and or knowledge around expansion in this market center. So why don't you sort of explain how you decided to get to that, how you came to the decision to do that, and then how you establish yourself in the new territories?
So as an operating principal, what I watching over the past, I've been an operating principal for 5 years now. So what I saw was a need, and I saw a need for, we were doing things at such a high level in Owensboro because I was taking some knowledge from being an operating partner. And I took that knowledge that I had from financials to appointments to like watching things grow really fast. And I thought, okay, how can I use that? And the need I saw was that megas were one, they were sacrificing their life. Okay. And two, they were so busy running on appointments, they weren't taking the time to build their businesses. And I thought, okay, how could I, because one thing that megas that we just don't do is we don't spend a lot of time, we were talking about it earlier, we don't spend a lot of time hiring, like it's the last thing we think about. So then we end up taking the teammate that either like quits on us or maybe like takes a lot of time. And so then the mega gets frustrated because the mega's like, oh my gosh, this person took up all my time. Like having a team is just too hard. Like there's too much turnover. I can't take the time. Or I saw a need that they weren't watching their financials. And so they were
a lot of top agents were becoming like, we're broke. And then they get themselves in a really bad position. And so then they just get burnt out and they get angry. And I mean, y'all, I'm sure plenty of y'all on this call and here have always right, we're not like that, but we've had that co-op agent that's just, you know what I mean? And you're like, what is wrong with them? But they start to get resentment towards the industry, right? Because it's not that they're a bad person. It's just that they're so tired and they can't figure out how to scale. So the reason I started expansion was, one, we're doing so many units in our hometown. I really think I can help megas scale their business faster and make more money because they can use some of my talented people to help them get ahead and to help so that they don't have to do it all on their own. Because through the last, I've been in this business now 11 years, and the team for 5, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars failing through this, and not everybody is willing to do that. And we spend every dime we get, and I was that mega, but we spend every dime we get, and we don't take that money and put back into people. So I thought, well, this lets the mega speed up really fast, and this helps them get their life back.
So just so I have clarity, you're going into markets and you're approaching established agents to essentially adopt your brand, and you are going to come in and systematize their business in exchange for them lead generating for you and you providing additional leads for them.
We become partners in the business, and they go on a split just like a teammate, and then we funnel that money through the team, and then we pay the expenses, and then we're the partner.
So MREA 2 is not out, but we know, because we have insider knowledge, that expansion is technically the 5th model now.
Is it the 5th? I thought it was the 6th. Is it the 5th?
I think it's the 5th of the MREA, right? So you need to be a 7th level agent to be able to expand, correct? Because you have to have the systems in place.
And you have to be able to take the time away from your business to work with other agents.
Okay. So, and how much travel are you doing right now, you think?
So the great thing is COVID's taught us we can do this all digitally.
Okay.
So right now I'm going until we get shut down again, knock on wood. But right now I'm back on the road, kind of like teaching and I'm on a talent search. I'm on a talent search for a mega. I'm on a talent search for partners of who's in alignment with me and who, wants these opportunities. I travel to my Ohio Market Center every other month. So I'm, but I enjoy teaching. I enjoy being here, whether it's through expansion or just a light bulb goes off in your head, because that's how I learned. I listened to people like myself that had done it, and I'm like, oh, I can add that to my business. I can add that. I can add this.
So how important is social media to your business, and how important was it? You probably utilize it less now for lead generation, now that you have sort of leveraged it out.
Actually, no, we still use it. So I was again, I'm in Owensboro, and the man that was the number 1 agent before me, his family, he's a mom and pop broker, and they were number 1 agent for 50 years. Number 1 brokerage, number 1 agent. So then this 25-year-old or 29-year-old, how old was I? I was 25 when I had my kid. No, how old am I? 26. I was 25 or 26 when I got the business. So this 25-year-old female gets into the business, and he had been in the business, his whole family, for 50 years. And 3 years I was number 1 agent in that town. Well, back then, nobody was doing Facebook, nobody was doing Insta. I don't even think Insta was around. Nobody was doing nothing. So I was the first realtor to start putting my homes on Facebook. So I kind of became known for that. And then obviously everybody follows. So I still I'm a Facebook person. I'm learning Insta and I'm getting better at it. Kelsey, who runs my team in Owensboro now, she's the Insta person. So we kind of get both because she's 29. But what we do in our model for our team and all of our expansion teams is we want to become the Facebook page in town where people want to go to our page to learn about new listings. So the goal of our business pages is, how do we become the Zillows? How do we become the realtor.coms? How do we become that so that people want to go to our Facebook page to learn about new listings. And so then what happens is since they start following our Facebook page, they click on the listing. The listing shows them 2 videos. We are a lead capturing team, so we capture the information, and then the information goes into our CRM, and then that's how we build our database.
So just so that I make sure everyone understands, so you're making it on Facebook that if they click the listing, they have to essentially go through almost like a paywall, putting in their data before they can see the videos.
Yeah, see the pictures. And then we try to tie everything to our website. Even if we get a listing that's we know that's going to sell within a couple of days, we're very strategic. So we list homes on a Thursday and we put them on our social media like, hey, just listed for 24 hours, which is the rule. Now we are ethical. We do not show the house unless everybody can get in the home. I got y'all's broker sitting over here. But I'm just telling you, like, I'm a broker. I'm an associate broker too. And I have a bullseye on my back. So I constantly make sure that we are following. And I'm really big on that because I don't think you're doing the consumer any good, not getting it out there anyway. And I preach about, I'm here to get you the most money in your pocket versus me hoarding the deal. So, but what I do though, is I want to get clicks. So for 24 hours, I put it on Facebook. We put it on Facebook. Friday, it goes on MLS. Saturday, we do an open house. We don't look at offers till Monday. That's when we're in multiple offer situations, we do that. When we drop out, we'll do things differently. But right now, my whole goal is I know that listing is going to sell instantly, but Gary always says you should get 3 leads off every one listing. So if you're selling that home too fast, you're not going to do your other job of staying in business. And so you've got to get that house enough marketing time to get as many so that you can get some more listings or buyers. So we do Facebook. Social media is our thing.
So I've heard that before about sort of having a system for when you put your listings. Do you feel like that helps just add more fuel?
Yeah. So one, the agents will drive my admin crazy. Absolutely. I know we are all high-strung mega agents and agents, but we think that our admin are like magic and they can just spit something out, even though they have 500 other things going on. And so you've got to ground yourself because they're human just like you and they can't do everything at once. So one, it flows to the admin team better when we have a system, because then the admin team can plan, can structure photos, can get the locks box, can get the sign up. So yes, we are active on Thursday, active in MLS on Friday, open house. So like our whole marketing team can get everything out properly.
And is that part of your listing presentation that you explain sort
Yes.
of how it's going to roll out?
Unless we get a deal where it's like a 48-hour or 72-hour or first right of refusal where they got to sell something to buy something off the table and it's urgency. But if it can be strategically planned, we're doing the Thursday, Friday.
So how do you combat any objections where they're like, well, I want it done today?
We just tell them why this is important and that this is going to allow the most foot traffic in the home. And the job is to market the home, but also to get as many people through the home as possible so that you get the best offer, because the first offer is never the best offer. Somebody could be on swing shift. Somebody could be, a doctor looking, working a 24-hour shift, whatever it is, we got to get as much foot traffic to that home.
I think that I remember
You got to slow down. Like we get excited and I'm always like, breathe. And as agents, we have to do our due diligence to help them breathe.
I feel like one of the first things I ever saw you speak at, because I started in 2016 also, and actually my very first family reunion, I hadn't even started as MCA, and that was the year you got your market center and they announced it at family reunion, and you were on the big stage that year, I think.
Yeah.
So, but your panel, you did a panel on Facebook was a big topic.
Still is.
And that's sort of how you took control of Owensboro.
Yes.
So just really quick, I want to backtrack because you mentioned you sell a lot of units. How do you're in a small market, so it's not a super high price point. What do you think your volume is?
So this year it's gone up to 200, but it was 135, 145 for years. So that's why our volume's so high right now, because my average on the team is 200, which I'm like, oh my gosh, like, yes, we can do some stuff now. But it was 135, 145 forever.
Oh, wow. Okay. So since you're expanding, your 7th level, you have a brand. So what is your brand?
I have a bunch of different brands.
Okay, well, what do you call your
Expansion network?
Yes.
Bluegrass Referral Network.
Okay. And how did you come up with that?
So I talked to another expansionist in Ohio, Greg Erlanger with the Easy Sales team, and I knew this was going. I had one mega reach out to me. He needed some help, and then I had, and so I thought, oh, I guess I'll do this expansion thing. So I was like trying to come up with a name, and he was like, figure out something that's gonna show your roots, like where you came from. So obviously, the Bluegrass Network is where it came from, and then I thought, well, if I go national, if I go like throughout the nation, is that gonna be like to Kentucky? But I can just call it TBRN. So like I can use the initials if it's like to Kentucky. But the cool thing is we are the biggest team in Kentucky, and I'm getting tons of referrals all over the state because of my travel and my exposure and validity.
And then you have an expansion team, and then I just want to make sure I'm clear. And then you have a team in Owensboro.
Yeah, so
that isn't technically under that umbrella?
No, it's under it.
Oh, okay.
So everybody's under the network. So the Owensboro team, the Evansville, Indiana team, the Bowling Green team, the Louisville team, and then we have, like, we're getting ready to add an agent up at Rough River. So all those people funnel in there. We cover like Henderson. We cover we cover a lot of like.
How did you establish a sort of mission statement and value system for your expansion team? And
so our vision is to empower empires and take territory, create CEOs. So I really believe that I can make megas millionaires in their business. And so that is the whole thing, is how can I empower them to have a life and make money? Because that is like the biggest thing I see.
So you already touched on this because you are a mother, and I know that's very important to you. So how do you maintain work-life balance with so many things on your plate?
Yeah, so everybody thinks I'm like crazy busy, but in the summertime, I actually only work 3 days a week. So I enjoy my lake house, and my son does travel ball, and we're all over the state, and Indiana and Tennessee with his team, and I have really good people. I know like when I get in the weeds, I need to hire. So I do know, like, I only want to, if I start getting like where I can't be creative and I'm not doing a very good job of like building the next thing, then there's something out of whack and I need another person. And I do follow budgets, I follow models, but my son's dad is super involved. So we're every other week. So the weeks that I don't have him, then it's go time. And the weeks I have him, I work 3 days a week. So it works. I balance it.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
How have you developed as a leader since you took your role as operating principal?
So I was a mega agent, all about being a mega agent. And if I'm being honest, my ego couldn't even get through that door. So I had to, she's laughing. So I had to humble myself and learn a new skill. So I decided to get a counselor and a therapist and a life coach, and really just like figure out like why I respond certain ways, why I react certain ways, who I am. And so over the last like 6 years, I've really taken like a personal journey on becoming my best self. And I know that sounds cliche, but like I really have just gotten like, you know, when I upset somebody, then, you know, what was my DNA in that situation? Could I have done better? Can I be a better listener? Can I, you know, like what are the things, like, why do I lose people? Okay, is that a me, or like, where was, like, I think for a little while I was like, well, that's their problem and that's their fault. And I'm like, whoa, Kelly, like, watch it. And so it's like, you know, you have to backtrack, and that's really what's made me a better leader, is like really being real with myself and allowing people to give me constructive criticism.
And you, I assume, try to instill that in your
Team.
yes.
Yeah,
And
my leaders, that's one thing my expansion coach tells me all the time. She's like, your leaders progress so fast. And I'm like, well, it's because I pour back into them what I've learned. And so I'm really passionate about that.
do you have any sort of standards for like the leaders of your expansion networks that they need to have coaching?
Yes, they're all in coaching. All of them have like some also kind of life coach. And then, you know, if they don't know how to invest, I'm coaching them on investing. And then they need to have a time block calendar, and they need to coach each one of their agents. And they need to constantly be doing something to better themselves. Actually, one of my leaders in Bowling Green, Justin, called me yesterday. He said, Kelly, I have this idea. I'm like, okay, what? And you know, you got to think like we're partners. Like, it's not just like what I think and what goes. Like, it's, you know, it's a collaboration, because he's now my business partner. He's like, I really think we need to adopt a healthy lifestyle kind of team. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. He's like, well, what if we like paid for gym memberships, or paid for like books, like audio books on like growth? I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that thought process. And then that builds like, okay, we can go work out together, or take a walk, or, you know, do something like that.
So how do you structure your team? I know you said that you let them do buyers and listings. Is that all the way across the board?
Yes.
Or do you leverage that back onto the mega of your, like?
So no, we, for a while as the team evolved, and I always say this, like, I know some of y'all have teams in the room, and we have teammates in the room too. Like, every team will do something different on each step of the way. So don't compare my team to your team or to the team you're on, because I had different things I did at different stages of my growth. So like in the beginning, I was a listing agent and everybody did buyers, because I had to feed myself, and I was giving up my buyers. And that's one thing that I think sometimes I had to educate my teammates on is, hey, when I give up the buyer, I could have made 100% of that deal, but I'm only really making 20 after I pay the bills, right? And so I'm going to take the listings in return for this win-win relationship with me, right? So then Kelsey, who is now my business partner in Owensboro, she runs the team there. She really pushed me. She kept wanting more. And that's what talent will do to you. And she's like, I want to list houses. And I'm like, okay, we got to figure out how this. So like for the first 3 or 4 years, she didn't. And then like, that's kind of when your listings start to pick up. It's like your 3rd year, because you start getting that repeat business. Not that you don't list before, but it just starts to like domino. And so then I said, okay, well, for this to work, we have to do this, and this. And so then we started doing listings, and she really advocated for the agents to be able to do all. So that's kind of how that worked.
So you mentioned the showing assistants, and then you have a 90-day training program. So is that sort of the segue, as like you're a showing assistant during the 90 days?
Yes. And then you can work your sphere deals. So like we used to make you hand them off, and they were kind of like mini ISAs. But then what we learned was their sphere wanted to work with them. But see, the thing is in that training program, they need so much help. And so we started like having this mentor program within our team. So like an experienced agent would get a cut of that commission to mentor that program, because we want to make sure that agent doesn't do anything to jeopardize the deal, right? And that's so important. And so we just really coach our agents of like, hey, we're in this long term, and most people don't make anything for like months and months and months. So you're going to make something, but then you're going to go as soon as you get out of this program.
So, I mean, that just helps continuity of service.
Yeah.
And so would you say, you know, they start off in the training program, they're showing property, but they're taking an experienced agent with them?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Anytime they can get in a car and learn, like we're big, like That's a big thing that me and my coach work with my leaders on is like grab an agent and take them with you. Like that's the best way to learn.
How many team members do you think you have?
I knew you'd ask me that question. So in Owensboro, I think we have 6 or 7, and then my Bowling Green team has 9, 8, 9. We have one in the program, and then my Evansville team, we just had to redo that. We kind of did. That was a brand new team that we launched from like the ground up. So one of my agents on my Owensboro team, she's going to hit 100 units, and she wanted her next opportunity. And so she lived in Indiana, and she was like dual license, and she's like, I'm going to get my license over here, and I want to start a team. So we're like birthing that team from the ground up. So we didn't have a lot of validity in that city.
Mhm.
So we made some mistakes, and so now we're like redoing it, and then we're actually getting ready to recruit an experienced agent, which is phenomenal. So I have that one. So I mean, I think at one time we were like in the mid-20s.
Okay.
So
And that's agents or admins as well?
that's, well, with admin, I think we are 30-something organization.
Okay.
I need to count. Like I swear we hire and like it's like,
So what kind of accountability systems do you have in place for those, 30 people?
so every morning, the entire organization, the ones that are on Central Time Zone, or Eastern's going to be a different huddle. We call in every morning and we say our numbers. Like everybody's accountable. It brings a culture of accountability. It brings a culture of knowing your numbers and making sure you hit your numbers every day. So, and then they have a meeting with the leader once a month to make sure they're on track. And if they're not on track, they do the 15th protocol.
Okay. Do you want to explain what the 15th protocol is for you?
So if they're not halfway to their goal by the 15th of every month, then they have to double down on whatever activities they need to commit to make sure that the goal is non-negotiable. Because they set that goal, that was their goal, and we really don't take that lightly. Like we know that that's the money they want to make, and so we've got to help them get to that. And they're more than, they made a promise to us, they made a promise to their family, and we want them to hit the goal.
So do you leverage any of the accountability back onto the admin team?
Yeah, so our again, we have some cyberbackers and stuff. So any kind of like data entry. So I'm a big systems person. So like they get a scorecard every month of what they reported into CTE. And then we use CTE to report all our numbers.
Okay. So how does your team hold you accountable to everything you said you were going to do?
Oh man. I mean, Kelsey will stay on my rear end. Like if it don't happen, if she's like, you forgot about this, I'm like, dang it. So, I mean, it's usually a text. I'm usually the one that's firing everything and they have to slow me down.
Yeah.
So it's usually like, chill out, Kelly. We can't do all this at once.
Okay. So you mentioned that you had maybe like a little bit of an ego before.
Mm-hmm.
Were you open-minded to your partners sort of putting you in check before then, or is that something that you've learned to handle?
No, that's something I've learned to handle. That definitely wasn't something that, because I was like, well, I, did this first and I was here first.
Right.
And, this is how I built it. So like all that. And then I'm like, oh, but they've helped me along the way. Like they're part of the journey. They're part of the reason this is all here. Like I need to listen to their input and not react immediately and take it into consideration. And, that's one thing is just like sit and listen. And yeah, I'm not perfect. Like I still react, but at least now I'm like, oh, that's not a bad idea.
So let's start with and work our way up towards the expansion network. But what are your 36 touches for your Owensboro team and how did you grow that and scale it?
So actually our marketing department runs all of the touches for all the locations and we do 42. So 4 calls are non-negotiable. And then we do 4 client parties. Through the client parties, we have a mass texting service. So all of our database is in the texting. So we also touch through are you coming? We also do emails. We do spring into summer, we do all the little postcards. Let's see what else do we do. We do do pop buys sometimes, whatever the agents want to do. I mean, we probably do over 42. We mail their settlement statements the beginning of January.
What are your client events?
Birthday party and anniversary cards too.
What-
Client events, they're anywhere. We're getting ready to do like a drive-through food truck day at the office. So we asked the office if we could borrow the parking lot. So we're doing like a little floral pop-up. We're doing like food truck. We're doing something else. We do movies. We do pies at Thanksgiving. And then we do a fall festival like at my house. Like I live on a farm. So it got rained on the last time, but we had like a little acoustic guy. We were gonna do like some ring tosses, some painting pumpkins. We do like a fall festival at my house.
So do you invite everyone in your database or just VIP clients?
So yeah, we invite everybody. So we do, everybody that's in the database gets asked. And it's funny because like the movie that we just did, I think we had 200 and something people show up, which I listened to Eric Forney and he has like 700. So I'm like, how does that happen? So, but we had 200 people show up. I will say though, they're solid 200 people. Like, you know, like those are customers that buy and sell from us that are loyal. So that's like a different type of people that show up for like pies, like, cause maybe the older ones show up for the pies. They don't show up for the movies, you know, like they have older kids or whatever. So,
how many leads do you think you get out of the client events?
I say like, it's crazy. I'm so bad now because I've been doing it so long and I have like my database from like years ago. I'm like, what's their name? I forgot their name. Like I go through that. And so I can get like a little bit of social anxiety whenever I'm in big crowds. So like, I have to like really pump myself up to be there. Like, to be honest, like I know that like this is fine. But when I get in a room of like that many people, like I have social anxiety. So, and it's because I don't remember people's names. But I'd say all the agents usually get a lead or two from that event.
Okay. And then you have a follow-up system with everybody
Yes.
from the
Hey,
client
if sorry we missed you. Hopefully you'll catch our event next time. Thank you for coming, whatever that is.
And do you plan all 4 events, like when you sit down and do your business planning?
So Gabrielle, who's my director of ops, she does it for all locations. We like plan ahead, yes, and
And-
make a calendar.
And you do business planning
Yeah.
in the 4th quarter or in the 3rd quarter?
Yeah, so we have our vision retreat always in either the end of September or the first week of October. So we used to do it wrong where we did our vision retreat at the end of the year. And then we've learned that that wasn't enough planning to get everything done because we have certain deadlines that everything has to be out for the next year.
Mhm.
So we started doing it at the end of September, 1st of October.
So you plan all of your events,
Mhm.
start reserving everything, and then do you get sponsors for
Yes.
that kind of stuff? I mean, 200 people, that's a lot. So,
So we usually get almost, 2/3 of it paid for.
okay. And planning it well in advance
Mhm.
helps. So how did you, obviously they grow over time, but you budget and all of that sort of stuff at the beginning of the year?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my budget, so the team has a budget like based on what they did last year. And then we have our goal. So then the owners of the teams know like if they hit the goal, they're gonna make this much, but this is the budget and we stay in it.
Okay.
I have a CFO of all my companies. And so he monitors the budgets and then like sends out like, you're under budget, you've got this much to spend, you don't, what do you want to do with it? So yes, we are by the model, like, and we are running just like the model.
So you've done a lot recently, but where do you see it going over the next 5 years?
So, I mean, I think both, so I kind of have 2 businesses, right? So I have the market center business and then I have the expansion business. So I think both of them will grow because I have great leaders in both businesses. I think you're going to see expansion pick up because I think that agents want help. Like I think we get burnt out, and I think that if agents can understand net profit versus like lower units
but no life. There's a lot of profit when you can combine employees, combine services, and get your life back. And I think that in the future is teams, because not everybody wants to build everything. They just want to plug in, go fast, do their thing, and have freedom in life. I think COVID taught us that, right?
Mhm.
COVID kind of grounded us, taught us like what's important and what we want to be present for.
I want to thank you because I think this is the first time I've ever heard anyone explain expansion and how it works in a way that I actually was able to understand.
Mhm.
So thank you for that. I've sat through many trainings on it,
Yeah.
and every time I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
But so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
It seems much more within reach.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all of my questions. So I think it's time for questions from everyone else. So who's got questions? Yes.